I'm so excited to have this conversation with Dr. Jeffy. She's a very well-known dermatologist. She's been on our show a lot of times, and I have questions, okay? If I were to be getting my medical information from social media, which is a great idea, everyone knows, then I would think my real enemy is sunscreen, not the sun.
Absolutely not true. This myth comes from the idea, I think, that we now know that chemical sunscreens can be absorbed and measured in the blood. Now, that's only in certain conditions in the lab when someone is using really a lot of sunscreen, they're using it really frequently over a course of many days, but it is measurable. We don't know what that means though, okay? We do know that radiation from the sun causes sun damage and skin cancer. So that is not a valid point.
Okay, so with that information, we know that some chemical sunscreens get absorbed in the skin. We don't know if it's like you have to be slathered in it for 2 weeks or if a little bit would end up in your bloodstream, but obviously that's scary. However, we know for a fact that radiation from the sun can cause cancer and other skin damage.
Exactly. And if you want to avoid that whole controversy, you think about using a mineral sunscreen. So how you would know you're using a mineral sunscreen is it's going to contain titanium or zinc, or both potentially. If you see any other word listed as an active ingredient, then that is going to be a chemical sunscreen. So if you want to avoid that absorption though, you choose a mineral one. They do not get absorbed into the blood.
Okay, here's my questions. Zinc, all right, I feel like that's in Desitin. That's in diaper cream. So is it soothing for your skin as well as keeping the sun from burning it?
I wouldn't necessarily say that with the sunscreen, but it certainly is not an irritant. Okay, that's another reason to use mineral sunscreens. Chemical sunscreens can sometimes more commonly be irritating to the skin. So you don't see that with the minerals, and maybe that does play some small role. But the nice thing about the mineral sunscreens, low risk for irritation.
So here are some of the brands that you like. And of course, kids don't like the white cast.
Yes, and so there are so many more options now for formulations of mineral sunscreens. So you don't have to be worried about that, but it might be some trial and error. But you can definitely find ones now that do not go on white. You're not gonna look like that lifeguard in the old movie.
Right, with the zinc nose or the surfer. Like, this is the brand I use, and it does blend fairly easily.
Yeah, it blends very well. But if you have an area where it's hard to rub in the mineral sunscreen, it's a child that doesn't like it, or it's a man who has hairy arms, hairy legs, use a chemical sunscreen. I mean, I would rather you use that than choosing to do nothing, because you're not getting rid of that radiation risk if you're doing nothing.
That's important to note. So it's a chemical sunscreen, but you would prefer that to somebody getting a burn.
Exactly. And you know, you can use one of each. You know, like my husband a lot will use a mineral on his face.
Yes.
But then he'll use a chemical on his arms.
Because of the hair.
Because of the hair.
Right? So you can do a la carte. One from column A, one from column B. I've always wondered about the spray, because it seems like spraying around kids or even adults, like that can't be good breathing that in.
Exactly, I agree with you. So sprays can be effective, okay? I do like to point out that you do need to spray them so that the skin looks wet, and then you rub them in order to get that benefit. A fine little mist doing nothing.
Right.
There are some brands out there, this is why I love this particular one from Elta MD. It does not have any chemical aerosols in it, so you don't have to worry about spraying your child and being worried about inhaling any chemicals.
So this is basically your hero product because it doesn't have an aerosol and it doesn't have chemicals.
Exactly, and it's a mineral-only sunscreen.
Okay, so it's probably not going to irritate your skin.
Correct.
Powders, I've always wondered, because I would use these on my kids all the time thinking like I'm not spraying it in their faces, but was it working? I don't know.
Yeah, for me, powders are for, like, it's in a pinch, it's your only option. Maybe you're wearing makeup, you can't put on another layer of your actual sunscreen, so it's a way to do a touch-up. I would not rely on it as a primary source of protection like you were doing for your kids.
Well,
not even coverage.
Nothing. Okay, speaking of makeup, what if I put SPF in my makeup? Am I getting No, I can already see. No.
Yes, definitely you want to use a sunscreen or a moisturizer with sunscreen underneath, and then put your makeup on top, even if it does have SPF, because you're not using anywhere enough to get the level of coverage they're trying to promise you in that bottle.
Okay, which is like a shot glass?
Yeah, and a shot glass for the whole body.
Okay, before we let you go, areas we all miss. Go.
Ears, eyelids, upper cutaneous lip, neck and chest.
Get that cutaneous lip, okay? You don't want a red mustache lip there.
Exactly.
Thank you so much. You did clear up a lot of myths.